Hello, welcome to an instructional video on how group tutoring tutors can verify and correct attendance for their sessions in TutorTrac. So first let's get to TutorTrac. In any browser window, clear out the address bar and type in TutorTrac, and you can get to the TutorTrac homepage on any computer on any of the 4 MATC campuses. So here I'm going to use a tutor that we have this semester who's doing anatomy and physiology. His name is Jamie Garris, and your login is your last name followed by your first initial, and your password is your student ID. So let me log in as Jamie, and this is the first page you're going to see. Now, sometimes your preference window will come up if you haven't played with it. I'm going to leave it as it is for Jamie. The important thing on this page for you is that over here in the left-hand part of the page, you've got a quick visit option. If you don't have that, in the drop-down menu next to the little man icon in the track navigation window, go to My Prefs. And in here you can make sure that quick visit is picked here. I'm going to get rid of color picker, that's not very useful. And you want to make sure you save your preferences. Alright, so first thing you're going to do is click on the utilization tab. The default is today's date, but you can change the date. You can see that there's nothing here for Jamie as of yet as today. So let's pick, suppose you've got your written attendance sheet that you bring to your sessions where your students sign in manually. Your job here is to correspond that paper list with what exists in TutorTrac and make corrections and adjustments so that TutorTrac reflects that paper sheet. So it's the beginning of the semester. I'm going to pick this year and look at all the entries he has for this year. Here we go. We see a bunch of entries. I'm going to make it a little easier to see them by clicking on this little window here. This little icon allows me to get a full-size window, and it usually, especially in Mozilla, opens up in a new tab. There are some problems with this in Internet Explorer, so I would recommend using Mozilla if you have that option. So here we see all of the entries in TutorTrac for Jamie Garris. We have his logins, work, and work for tutors only as a reason. And then we see that we have some students that have come to some sessions. Here you have their name, you have the date that they came, the time they logged in, and what group they picked. Now it's very important that this information is accurate. For example, let's open up one of these windows by clicking on the bubble at the right-hand part of the line. This gives us all the information that is what's in TutorTrac that gave us that line of information on the previous page. Student ID number, their name, the date that they logged in, where they logged into, what academic center they're taking. So for example, they're taking anatomy and physiology. If they had accidentally picked math GT, this is something you as a tutor would want to correct. And you would go to the drop-down menu here and fix it. Pick Math GT instead of Science GT. GT is right. Also, sometimes they don't pick group tutoring. Very important, they pick group tutoring. And the times might be wrong, and this is a common problem. You'll have students that forget to log in. They may log in, go to the machine, to the kiosk, and then realize they have to log out right away, and you might have a difference of 1 minute here between time in and time out. So you can correct these by clicking on the clock here, and you will get a time in, a time out, and duration, and these can be fixed by playing with these numbers. You could highlight the hour here, and I could say plus an hour, minus an hour, or 20 seconds instead of 10 seconds or minutes. Or what's a common thing to do is to correct the duration. Like suppose this person was really here for only 50 minutes, I could put 0 here and put 5 here. And it'll adjust the time out with fixing the time in. But let's put it back to what Jamie had. It really was an hour session. You can correct the subject that they took by that drop-down menu, and this will always be right. Consultant, Jamie would never see this entry in his attendance records here in TutorTrac if his name had not been chosen, which is also a problem that will happen, that you will have on your paper sheets that someone attended a session, but when you go into TutorTrac, there's no entry for you. The student may have logged in and logged out, but if they hadn't chosen Jamie Garris as the tutor, or the consultant in this case, it would not appear in his records. So sometimes you will have to find out what's going on with a student. They may tell you, I did log in, I did log out, yet the entry wasn't there. You might want to go to the log out with them to make sure they're correctly choosing you. All right, if I had made changes here, I would hit the Save button, or I'd just go back and I'd go back to the previous window. One small problem with TutorTrac is it doesn't go back to the last date search you had. It goes back to today's date. So now I got to go back and find it in the Change Date drop-down menu. It can also be the case that you don't log in and out properly, and you may have to click on your window and make some corrections here. Like suppose you forgot to log in on time and you just want your work hours to be accurate, you could go up here and correct this number up here. All right, so another problem is that a student didn't log in and log out properly. So we're going to show you how to enter a new instance in your log of a student that attended a session that you have on your paper log but isn't in the system. So we're going to go to Quick Visit. Click on Quick Visit, and you're going to get a window that looks very much like the window you got when you clicked on the bubble. The thing is nothing is in here except the tutor's name. So now we got to go get a student ID. Click on this blue icon, Student ID. Type in their number, which is something you will have from the paper login sheets. So very important that people put that number in accurately. I could have also used the name of the student in the search, but it could be a long list of students. Like here, look at all the Castillos. And it turns out there's Andres. So I could click on that, and now the name shows up here and that. Now we need to pick a date. If it's today's date, you could put the date button and it'll put in today's date. If you need another date, click on the calendar icon, pick the date, and then before you click on the location, you need to put in the center. So we know this was a science, so we know it was group tutoring, so pick Science GT. Go to the location. It was downtown campus. Pick Milwaukee. Make sure they pick group tutoring for the reason. The times. Let's just put in an arbitrary time here. Now, as you can see, TutorTrac does some funny things with time. So what I generally recommend is putting a time in and picking a duration that they were there. And then everything will be correct. So now we have an in time and out time. Let's pick a subject. All they have is this one choice. They may have multiple classes. Always good to pick the right class they're taking you for. Consultant is there. Hit Save. Now, Save and New would be if you have multiple entries. You can hit Save and a new window will show up, an empty one that allows you to enter another person into TutorTrac. Now, for some reason, TutorTrac is doing some strange things with the quick visits. So if you get that window, just come back and hit the refresh button and you'll come back to your utilization window. So once you've made your changes, very important to go back and verify that they're in. So I made an addition to a login this week for Andres Castillo. And here's the entry here. Looks like everything's okay. Got a date, an in time, Science GT group tutoring. I can always click on the bubble to double check and make any corrections that might be necessary. And to get to these buttons at the bottom of the screen, you need to play with the slide bars here. And everything in here looks correct, so I just can hit the back button. I don't need to save. And that's how you check your attendance in TutorTrac, make corrections to it, and use quick visits to add a student that wasn't in TutorTrac.